October 1st is the date we all have circled on the calendar. Who will bend first, the Golden State Warriors or Jonathan Kuminga? Matt Kolsky debating that on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good, everyone. We are closing in on about a month and a half away from Warriors season, or at least the preseason beginning. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets. Right now, it's more than around the corner. It is here, but we're talking hoops on today's show. Who will bend first, Jonathan Kuminga or the Golden State Warriors? Will the Dubs up their offer to Kuminga to make it a little more enticing, or is the qualifying offer a realistic reality for Dubs and their fans? Bench fillers, we're going to talk about those, and then Pat Beverly on Paul George and Klay Thompson. Wait until you hear what Pat Beverly said on his podcast. Matt Kolsky is the guest today. My name's Charlie Walter, formerly of 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area. Covered the team for CBS News Bay Area on the television. Kolsky, radio guy through and through, 95.7 KNBR, and now you can hear him as a contributor on this show. Has not spent a ton of time with me this summer. He's more of a season guy, and in the offseason, he's been struggling a bit. Son got kicked out of camp. Nothing egregious, but Pops had to step in and, be Pops for a little while. And it reminds me of my glory days, Kolsky. Taekwondo, swimming, tennis, they wanted nothing to do with me. How are we, man?
Luckily, he hasn't gotten kicked out of Taekwondo yet. We got Taekwondo going on, but, the downside of that is, if he decides he wants to hit someone, now he's got technique,
Yeah, I got to about the white belt with, the purple stripe, whatever level that was, before they said, we've had enough of him. Tennis, that we used to play a baseball game, and instead of hitting the home run, which was supposed to be actually just hitting it within the lines of play, I would whack it over the fence. I'd be like, Buns!
That's a real home run. I'll show you a home run.
It is out of here. So, good morning, everyone. If you're listening early in the morning, we get the juices going on Locked On Warriors. You can check us out on YouTube, wherever you get your audio podcast. But let's talk some hoops, man. October 1st is the day that something is going to happen. Do you think something happens before that October 1st date, or are we going the distance with a qualifying offer for Jonathan Kuminga?
Boy, oh boy, this is not a bet I would want to make, right? This is a stay away for sure, because I like to understand things that I'm going to gamble on. And I got to be honest, I don't necessarily understand what's going on here. It seems to me that both the problem and the solution right now. I mean, listen, this saga goes back. We've talked about it for years. There's ins and outs.
We were at 95.7 doing this talk together.
That's exactly right. This topic has legs. But if we're just dealing with the present reality, which is that you have a very talented, pretty raw player who is not thrilled with his role and wants some sort of, if he's going to sign an actual contract as opposed to the qualifying offer, wants some sort of assurance that he is at least slightly more than a trade pawn. That phrasing has been used in the reporting. And we've talked about this before, man. Anthony Slater is close to the Kuminga camp. And I don't mean that in a bias way. I mean that when he tells you what Jonathan Kuminga and company are thinking, you should believe him. And what he has said pretty clearly is it's not that 2 years and $45 million is such an insult financially. It's that the structure of the deal that the Warriors are asking for with the team option and non-guaranteed money makes it just absolutely blatantly clear that the primary goal with this contract is to turn him into a tradable asset. I think everyone in this situation is smart enough to understand that a trade in the future has decent odds for Jonathan Kuminga. It's not like he's sitting here being like, I want an absolute no trade clause how dare you disrespect me in this way? What he's saying is, I'm not that excited to sign what amounts to a 1-year contract just so that Steve Kerr can stick me at the end of the bench again, and you guys can explore trading me, and I can spend the whole year reading articles about why I'm not playing and where I might go next while not helping my career, right? I think his perspective is, if you want this to be contentious, which is what the Warriors offer strikes me as, then let's make it contentious. I'll sign the qualifying offer. If you want to at least give me a little bit of faith in the offer, hey, give me a player option in that second year, or give me a guarantee of half of the salary in that, like something that shows that, hey, the only way this goes is not making you a trade pawn as soon as possible. Like, that seems to be the ask. And even if the ask was another $5 or $7 million, it doesn't have a massive effect on the Warriors' ability to maneuver. Whether Jonathan Kuminga is making 22.5 or 25 or 27 million this year is a marginal factor in your ability to trade him down the road. But you can offer him just show a little faith in the player, offer him something that makes it seem like, hey, look, yeah, trades are going to be discussed, but also let's see what happens. Maybe things go well, and all of a sudden you're back in the driver's seat of the future. Who knows? We know Joe Lacob loves them.
Do you think he wants that?
I honestly don't. If Jonathan Kuminga had been more of a bad sport throughout this, I would say that is probably not a realistic route. But he really, especially, again, for a kid speaking English as a second language in this country for, 3 years before he's drafted as an 18-year-old and then jerked around in one of the strangest, development arcs we've ever seen in the NBA.
He called out his coach early, though, in his career.
He did not. He talked to his coach, and that became a news story. But he has not said a single word publicly. Look, there's always going to be reports. I'm not saying that wasn't organized by the Kuminga camp. I'm saying on its face, at practice, at games, in front of a microphone, Jonathan Kuminga has been really professional. And he's never appeared pouty or like he's, refusing to do stuff on the court because of the way his minutes are being handled. Like, to me, he always looks like he's trying and that he wants to play more. And I don't think that he is the sort of dude, just again, I'm reading tea leaves. I'm basing on what I've seen. I've never spoken to Jonathan Kuminga personally for an extended period of time. But what I see is a guy that wants opportunity. And I don't think he'll be angry if that opportunity comes in a Warriors uniform. I think in some ways he'd probably feel gratified by that. I think in some ways he'd probably like to do it in a Warriors uniform to maybe give a little "I told you so" to the head coach. I don't see that as an impossibility, but I think it becomes harder and harder to envision that possibility the more this becomes a standoff. And it just seems to me that the opportunity cost for the Warriors to provide a little more security in their offer or up it by a few $1 million is small. And I think that's why you see, if you listen to what, Marcus Thompson and Tim Kawakami are saying to each other, if you read the articles that Anthony Slater is writing, if you look at ESPN and see Ramona Shelburne talking about it, what everyone is saying is kind of, I think, and also I don't understand why not, the Warriors will just make the offer a little better. It doesn't hurt them that much. And it seems like you could deal with this before October 1st, like you were saying, rather than let it continue to drag on. You could lock in the other pieces of your roster and hopefully move forward with a Jonathan Kuminga that is at least open to the idea of some kind of relationship rehab, right? It should not be impossible. Relationship rehab. Maybe it is. I don't know the inside of it well enough to say that it's for sure doable, but it should be. And based on the other options at this juncture, that should be the goal. because I think we can all look at what the Warriors have and the guys they're talking about adding, and maybe we'll talk about those guys more in a little bit, but like the team they have, if the spot currently occupied by Jonathan Kuminga's cap hold turns into nothing, they are not good enough. No matter how many Seth Currys or Malcolm Brogdons they find on the streets, they are not good enough to be a legitimate championship contender. If the spot that is Kuminga turns into a productive version of Kuminga, maybe they are good enough to get in the mix. I don't know. I mean, look, they're still not going to become the favorites, but that at least is interesting. If they can turn this team into a something that has what it had during the 27-win stretch with Jimmy Butler and also can make use of a productive Jonathan Kuminga, then I think we're talking about something.
All right, let's get into relationship rehab coming up. Who bends first? We will also get into the bench fillers, some of those players we were talking about, Brogdon, Seth Curry, Cody Martin, and then Pat Beverly on Paul George and Klay Thompson. You're going to want to hear what he said. That's all coming up on Locked On Warriors. America's #1 sportsbook. It's FanDuel, and August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on the MVP race. We talking Jalen Hurts. We talking Josh Allen. We talking Lamar Jackson. Crown your champion in August. We going Packers. We going Ravens. We going Niners. Or parlay your division winner dark horses. Parlay all 8 of those together. You'll be looking at a very, very nice payout. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. August 26th, FanDuel, play your game. All right, relationship rehab, Matt Kolsky. It sounds like an MTV show. Forget Next, forget Room Raiders. We're on to relationship rehab with NBA players. My question is, can you rehab a relationship if there are no words being spoken? And I ask this because based on all the reports we've heard, it's not like Kuminga's been around the facilities like we thought he was going to be. I mean, last I saw publicly would have been him and Joe Lacob, arms around each other, chumming it up courtside. I think maybe on the Valkyries like season opener or preseason opener. But it's been a minute. He's been spending some time in Miami. We heard the reports that he was going back to Congo to play in the international games, which were then shut down. And there have been no reports. The only reports that I've heard have been that he's been kind of away, not talking to anyone, not in communication with Kerr and company. Can you rectify a relationship if there's no meeting in the middle?
No, which is why I think it's bizarre that the Warriors don't just at least try to bridge the gap by beefing up the offer. Again, the easiest way to do it is probably to give him a player option or guarantee that second year. It doesn't principally...
Kuminga wants 4 for $90 million.
Yeah, well, that's a number that's been reported, right? But it's also been reported that his problem with the Warriors offer... First of all, 4 for 90, right? What'd you say? 94? It's the same, right? It's not
it's the same price.
It's the same price. It's exactly the same price yearly, right? So it's what he is saying pretty clearly is like, okay, $22.5 million seems fine, but could you just pay me the respect of not having it be such a blatant trade chip? Like the contract is designed specifically to be a blatant trade chip. And anyone who can't understand a player being like, all right, yeah, I'll take the money, but could we just at least pretend like you want me here? Like you have to be able to understand that, right? So to me, no, you can't fix it if you're not talking. But if you sign him to a 2-year deal with a player option or a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option or something that gives him a little bit more indication that you at least don't want to get rid of him at the earliest possible convenience, if that could solve it, why would you not at least give that a try? And all the reporting is the Warriors are standing firm on 2 years, $45 million, but give up all your rights. Sign away every right that supposedly comes with this sort of contract. And again, if you up the offer, maybe you get him back in the fold and you start having those conversations on September 1st instead of October 1st. And it seems to me that that would be a huge advantage to the Golden State Warriors as a team attempting to compete in the NBA this year. That being said, like, guys go places, Steph goes to China. Like, it's not like if he was under contract and this wasn't happening, you'd expect him to be at the facility all summer at this stage of his career.
It was just because Kerr said that. He said that this was the summer where he was going to be around and they were going to work with them, and this was going to be the year that he got full runway to run with Jimmy, with Draymond, with Steph early. And now that feels like a lifetime ago that Kerr said that.
Yeah, well, I think, as much as I hate to say it, because I consider Steve Kerr to be a tremendous coach and a better person who usually is honest about that kind of thing. Yeah, it's BS. Just like I cannot believe anyone read the story about Steve Kerr, quote, leading the efforts to repair the relationship and took that seriously. How after the way you've handled the relationship, how could he believe you? So, like, if Steve Kerr thought, I'll just tell him he'll play next year. Well, what about when you said you were handing the keys to him 6 months ago, and then he was on the bench again a month later?
He got hurt. Things changed.
Right, but Chuck, I'm not trying to litigate the thing. I'm trying to say for a second, like, how could we expect 22-year-old Jonathan Kuminga to say, Steve Kerr's saying I'll play now, so, like, everything's kumbaya. I'll just trust them every step of the way. Never mind looking out for my own career. The Warriors have my best interests at heart. Like, you'd be an idiot. So to me, the way to start repairing it is to pay him, again, a little bit of respect with the way you're negotiating the contract. Mm-hmm. And look, maybe he still says no. And then, to me, I start to look at it a little differently, because there does have to be a meeting in the middle, right? But right now, the Warriors don't appear to be interested in meeting in the middle. We know his relationship with Lacob is good, but we also know that Lacob is not, while he's involved, he's not usually going to be the guy that's like, we'll pay him whatever he wants. He's my guy, right? Like, he respects his employees enough not to do that. So you're in this stalemate until hopefully the Warriors budge. But if they don't, I just can't imagine how they could. Look, we can talk about Jonathan Kuminga wasting a potential year of earnings by signing the qualifying offer.
That's what I wonder. Like, is the 1+1 that much worse than the qualifying offer? Because that's what the Warriors are banking on. They're like, why would any human being ever take this qualifying offer rather than the 1+1? Where they're going to be.
That is, depending on how you look at it, that is 14 million or 34 million that you're never going to get back. Here's the thing. The Warriors are operating on the timeline of 36-year-old Stephen Curry. Jonathan Kuminga is 22. Even if it's $13 million, from a philosophical standpoint, from a basketball standpoint, that year costs the Warriors so much more than it costs Jonathan Kuminga. Like, a guy at that size with that talent will make tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars over the next decade, almost no matter what. Almost no matter what. He's going to make tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars over the next decade. Steph Curry has 2-3 more seasons operating at an elite level where the Warriors can realistically talk about competing for a title. Are you really willing to play chicken with Jonathan Kuminga at the cost of one of those 2, maybe 3 years? I think it's crazy. You got to get this figured out. You can't have him on the qualifying offer, rotting on the end of the bench, wasting what could have been a useful player spot on your team. If he's there, you've got to find a way to use him. And if he's not there, you've got to get something for him. And I don't see any way that happens if you don't sign him to something other than the qualifying offer right now. Again, unless that crazy giddy deal, which would take 6 teams and all sorts of nuts machinations, unless that somehow comes through, I don't know what the other option even is.
Yeah, we got a month to figure it out. We have an important request for everyone that listens, watches this show. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and to make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, answer any questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Why would I waste my time doing that? Someone asked. 1, it helps us. 2, everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards based on viewership. That you got like a percentage chance or more to win one of these $100 Amazon gift cards. It'll just take you a minute and it helps us out. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in show notes. Thank you for helping us out. Coming up on Locked On Warriors, the bench fillers, Pat Beverly on Paul George and Klay Thompson. That's all straight ahead. But first, let me tell you about my favorite jeans, everyone. We've been running through with these things, and it's because the grand opening of Doer is coming soon. I'm giving you the best angle possible of the performance denim slim fit from Doer. Power your performance, folks. I've been meaning to tell you about these things for a long time now because they're just so versatile. And in the Bay Area, you need a versatile pant and you need a versatile jacket. Those are things that they offer. You can wear them in the heat. You can wear them in, Pacifica, California, and Daly City, where you're seeing the sun once every 3 months for certain months out of the year. And the timing could not be better because Doer is opening a brand new store in Hayes Valley on August 29th. Why it's worth making the trip: 5 times the stretch of traditional denim, so you get the perfect fit without feeling restricted. They are antibacterial, means they stay fresh longer. You can wear more and wash less. Plus, the CoolMax technology regulates your temperature and it wicks away moisture. Perfect for those unpredictable San Francisco days. Doer combines classic jeanswear style with the comfort and performance of athletic wear. And Doer is opening that new store in Hayes Valley August 29th. Head over to 567 Hayes Street. Mention my code LOCKEDONSF in store. You'll get 15% off your first order. So load up. Go to shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. That is Doer, D-U-E-R, for 15% off online. Trust me, once you try them, you'll never want to try anything else. Names for the Golden State Warriors that we have been talking about this offseason have kind of remained the same. There have been a few that have popped up on the show, like Amir Coffey, who myself and Mike have liked a little bit for his 3-and-D capabilities. But for the most part, it's been Horford, it's been Melton, all but confirmed. The other Curry, Seth, has been thrown into the mix. I've mentioned the name Ben Simmons, although there's been no talks of the Warriors actually having interest in him. But the longer he's on the table, I guess you would never know. Cody Martin has been a name that's emerged as someone the Warriors could look at. Malcolm Brogdon is a potential secondary ball handler. I asked Mike on yesterday's show, I said, which of these guys doesn't make any sense? And he said Seth Curry. He said, if you're getting DeAnthony Melton and you are getting Al Horford, an undersized shooter that doesn't play great defense is more about the story of him playing with his brother than actual help off the bench, which you kind of need during a long NBA season. Which of these to you is the most viable option for the Warriors? Because they're all different players.
Yeah. That's an interesting take from Mike because I get it. He's not totally wrong. And boy, the more you look at the roster, you run out of minutes for alleged wings under 6'6". But don't forget that Seth Curry is one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time. Like
him, Buddy, and Steph, probably like.
Well, here's what I would
3
say.
top 5 in the last 10 years.
We have heard a lot about how many of the potential moves that the Warriors could make, with or without Jonathan Kuminga, involve Buddy Hield. And if you did decide we got to do this and Buddy has to be part of it, Seth would make a hell of a replacement. It's not like Buddy's out there D'ing people up. You know what I mean? And Seth is, it's not an effort issue. He's just a 6'1" 2 guard, right? He can do a lot more ball handling, I think, than many people realize. He's had years where he's, off in the 3.5, 4 assist range. So I think you could do a lot worse than Seth Curry. And yeah, the story of him playing with his brother is great, but also you got to believe they have some kind of crazy connection if you actually can get them on the floor together here and there. Brogdon, isn't that just, Seth Curry, who doesn't shoot as well and mostly is like a slow paced ball. Like it's like a poor man's Chris Paul, I guess. It's not like he's lighting it up defensively for you. Martin is an interesting athletic wing, but he doesn't shoot it well. So I guess what I'm saying is all these guys have a certain level of fit. One dude we didn't mention is Gary Payton II. And if you're talking about Horford, Melton, GP2, and Kuminga, I think there's only one spot left. So you're probably looking at one of those three guys. And I guess I would lean towards Cody Martin. I mean, Amir Coffey is a name that I would probably lean more towards than any of those guys if you're trying to fill that one last spot. No, but my point is none of these guys are a great answer, but you're also talking about 14th, 15th men on the roster. So it's not supposed to be a great answer.
That's why I look at Brogdon and Simmons, because I look at the what have you done for me lately types of guys. And Simmons hasn't done much in a long time. Don't get me wrong. But he does some things like pass, especially out of the high post, can handle it for his size, can defend a little bit. But you wonder where his head's at, that sort of thing. And the locker room was so great. The vibes were so great. How does Ben Simmons do with Draymond? That sort of thing. You
and Jimmy, Ben Simmons seems like the absolute wrong personality to put next to Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green for everybody's sake. Which is probably
why they haven't looked into him, because he's available and he gives you a lot of what you want. Malcolm Brogdon, meanwhile, has had really good seasons as far back as just a couple of years ago, but has not been able to stay healthy. When he is healthy, he's pretty effective. But if you're bringing in Melton, it kind of becomes a little redundant to where you're, again, adding more smaller guards that you don't need. Peyton all of a sudden is likely to come back to the Bay Area. It sounds like when, reportedly 2-3 months ago, the Warriors were probably looking to move on. So life changes quickly, but Cody Martin
comes at you fast.
Cody Martin is a name that's interesting because he defends really well, and that's kind of what the Warriors should be leaning into this upcoming season is defense.
That's definitely going to be a core part of their identity, right? And if you're just talking about throwing another guy on the wing who can give you some really good defensive minutes and on a good night, maybe he gets hot and knocks down a couple threes, that's who Cody Martin is. And I don't hate that idea. Brogdon, as you mentioned, if you told me, hey, you're getting 2022-23 Brogdon, here's what you get. 67 games off the bench, 26 minutes a night. He's the sixth man of the year. He's shooting 44% from three, 50% overall, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, again, in just 26 minutes, 15 points. If you're getting that minimum, guy,
I'd take my gamble, man.
Never mind. I'm paying him. Give me that guy, sure. But 2 years and a total of less than 67 games later, I don't know that you're
exactly what you're doing with Melton. And the question is, can you handle 2 of those guys?
Right.
That's exactly what you're doing with Melton. He's a reclamation product. Now, I will say that Melton significantly younger.
Much younger. Yeah.
Yeah. To where Melton, he bounces back. You could sign him to a little deal. Brogdon, you wonder with all the taxation on those knees and injuries, things like that, how much longer will he be doing this thing for? Life comes at you fast, Gordon Hayward, friend of the program. He was balling out, and next thing you know, he announces retirement. So that comes at you quick when injuries continue to pop up. Let's finish this quickly. Just your thoughts on Pat Beverly, Paul George. I know that Pat Beverly in his podcast, The Full Context, was really backing up Klay Thompson when Roan was saying that he's somewhat of a role player or whatever, kind of had to do his creation off of others' work, aka, gravity, things like that. But he said, Beverly, quote, if you put Paul George in the role of Klay Thompson playing with Steph, Draymond, Iguodala, obviously we know Paul is, his best years, he was in the MVP race. If you substitute them during the primes, I think that Golden State probably wins more championships. Just your reaction to that quickly before we wind up.
if you just traded Paul George and Klay Thompson in their primes, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Two very different types of players.
Very, very different. Now, if you traded them from the beginning of their careers, that to me is more interesting because Paul George is a pretty pure shooter. And if he grew up figuring out how to move around Steph Curry and Klay Thompson grew up having to get his own as a guy that came into the league as a knockdown shooter, but not a good ball handler, not a great finisher at the rim, I would love to see how those careers would go. That's an experiment that unfortunately we are never going to be able to do, but it is mildly interesting. The idea that like Paul George would have been a better fit than Klay Thompson for the championship Warrior teams, I can't co-sign that at all. No, sir. Claytheism for life. If the idea is like Paul George will finish higher on the all-time NBA list than Klay Thompson, then that's probably true. But I do think a lot of that is circumstantial.
Yeah, there were a lot of championships won in a little bit of time to where it seems like a moot point and a weird thing to bring up. But I get it. It was a clip from a much longer topic of conversation, which was Roan basically saying that Klay Thompson actually is kind of a role player. And Beverly stepped in. He's like, easy now. The dude is not a role player. Kolsky, you're a role player. I appreciate you.
Talk to you soon, buddy.
You're supposed to come back and say, I'm not a role player. I'm the star of this show. That's Matt Kolsky, everyone. This is Locked On Warriors. Check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcast. Peace.
I'm just trying to be nice so I get minutes.
Just not trying to get fined. See ya.